Discreet surveillance of a wife and her lover. I was sound asleep. I heard a man's voice. Paul! And I sat up abruptly. It scared the hell out of me. I reached for the bedside table where my Glock was. Paul, it's me, Dan. I'm sorry to wake you up like this, but we have an emergency. Dan, who's Dan? Dan Jenkins? He runs Doris's office here in town. Dan, what the hell are you doing in my bedroom? I have a phone. I have a doorbell. I couldn't use the phone and I didn't want to be seen at the door. We have a really big problem, and we need to talk. Dan, I only have one problem. Some asshole decided to wake me up. I looked at the alarm clock. At 2:45 in the fucking morning. I'm sorry about that, but it could cost a senator a chance at the presidency. This is bigger than you or me. Dan, get out of my bedroom. Get out of my house. If you don't, I'll do one of the following. Shoot you and call 911, or call 911 and tell them you're here to cover up some political blunder, or just physically kick your ass and let you explain why you were found beaten and bloody on my front lawn. He backed up a couple steps, which was a tactical error, allowing me to draw my gun. I pointed it at him. Hey, wait a minute, don't shoot. Dan, last chance. Turn around and run for the door. I probably won't shoot. You got 60 seconds to get out. If you don't, I'll kill you and tell 911 I shot the intruder. Since you'll be dead, you'll have no argument. But that's 55, 54, 53. For some reason, Dan decided that my wife's potential political career was worth less than his life and hastily retreated. I wondered how long it would take him to call her team, and her team to call me. I was coming to my senses, you know the difference between being awake but drooling and being able to string two thoughts together. Hell of an inconvenient time to start the day, but I got up, went to the bathroom, then into the shower, just a quick rinse. As I was wiping myself down, my phone rang. Yes, I said without emotion. Paul, this is John Schmidt, Senator... John, I'm going to interrupt because I don't feel like talking to you or your aide or the Deputy Secretary of the Interior or the President or anyone else. If the senator you're talking about has a problem, she should call me directly. I'm afraid that's not possible. Oh my God, let me get this straight. Is she hurt in any way? Well, not physically, but you see. John, it was very nice talking to you. If my wife wants to ask me anything, have her call me. If you want to talk to me, call my office and make an appointment. I think I'll have some time in 6 or 7 weeks. I disconnected. In less time than it would have taken me to compose a text, my phone beeped and I looked at the message from John. Please don't let the press contact you before you talk to the senator. It took me a little longer to reply. John, you're dreaming. If my wife wants to talk to me before the press gets to me, then time is running out. I'm not going to hide like some thief. In the meantime, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Being the husband of a successful politician is an interesting role in life. I have to say that my wife is an outstanding politician. She can get in front of any audience and sway them to her side. Our state is truly purple when it goes one way in some elections and the other way in others. Doris Russell, my wife, was liked by most voters not only in our state, but nationally. There has been serious talk that she could be a presidential candidate in this or the next election. I own a successful investment company. Right now, we're raising money from a variety of sources to fund startups with great success. These are high-risk investments, but I'm good at predicting success, at least often enough that buying our portfolio has yielded extraordinary returns. The downside, if any, is that I'm tied to our offices and travel frequently to evaluate companies seeking our financial support. I will say this. It is very difficult to maintain anything resembling a normal marriage when both parties are extremely successful. Being able to have children was the first sacrifice. In my opinion, they need parents who are involved in their young lives. I knew I was not up to the task, and Doris told me that if we were going to have children, we would both have to step up. We easily agreed that children were not our priority. The real difficulty is maintaining any kind of partnership. You'd think that when she was elected senator and moved to Washington, D.C., it would have made a big difference. But it really didn't. She could come home often to be with constituents. I could go there for long weekends whenever I wanted. Either way, there were times we wouldn't see each other for a week. We're both 38, married at 25, and by then we were both on the road to success. In the beginning, no matter how hard we worked, our time together was critical to that success. Being able to talk to someone who doesn't judge you and only seeks to understand is very important. It is equally important to offer advice to someone who may be leaning the wrong way, and in a way that is perceived as trying to help. And of course, there's the purely animal attraction of celebrating victories or forgetting defeats. Aggressively between the sheets is another way to grow together. But here you are in your 30s. The demands of the job are increasing, and suddenly your body demands sleep, at least once in a while. Something needs to give, and slowly but surely it turns out to be a partnership. Doris and I swore to each other that we wouldn't let that happen, as if we could stop the rain. What really pissed me off was the nature of politics. If about 60% of people think something is bad, a good politician has to learn to either agree or instead mumble something unintelligible. Over time, she tried to convince herself that this was better than that, even though I knew she thought just the opposite, and my advice made it harder for her. Even though she agreed with me, she had to object because it was the right political move. We fundamentally disagreed. I believed that her best political future was to be herself. She was led to believe that her chances would be better if she took the right side on less important issues. Her manager, or whatever he called himself, began to gain more and more of her attention. Her first serious fight was about 2 months ago. She accused me of trying to sabotage her because I disagreed with one of John's bullshit opinions. I told her that if she thought John was more on her side than me, then we were in trouble. Have you ever said something and really regretted it? She took my words to heart and believed me. I wanted her to realize that we were partners, and John was leading her astray. And she heard that we were in trouble. So this morning, when some lackey on her staff jumped on me, I realized it was a tentacle from the conversation that we were in trouble. I wasn't going to hear it from them. I was going to hear it from her. My phone rang. Doris's ringtone. "Good morning," I said, not meaning it. "Why is it so hard with you?" "Doris," I instinctively wanted to hang up. "What makes you think I'm difficult?" John told me. "Yeah, now you're going to tell me why John thinks I'm difficult. Screw John." "All right." Laughs. "You're right. I have a problem, and John convinced me it would be better if he explained it." "I see. Speaking to me now, would you say John was right?" "No, probably not." "Okay, now tell me what the big problem is." "It wasn't like that between us. You know that." She paused. Did she want confirmation? Not from me. We used to rely on each other. Now, more often than not, John gives me the best advice. I rely on him more and more. Another pause. I've decided this is her hole. Let her keep digging. There's no easy way to say this. John and I have fallen in love. Still nothing amazing. Though falling in love was disappointing, silence seemed like the best option. We got caught tonight, in Bethesda. We decided it was far enough away and were having dinner in a public place, and some reporter caught us kissing. He somehow took pictures of us undressing each other as we entered my hotel room. He let us know what he had. The story will unfold in the morning. We have to get ahead of it. Another pause. You don't care? Don't you have anything to say? You're speaking in declarative sentences. I understood what you said. You didn't ask me anything. Are we really that far apart? You loved me once. I still do. I'm not the one who says I've fallen in love with someone else. All I can say is that I'm sorry. I'm even more sorry that I have to ask for your help to get through this crisis. My help? Are you kidding me? No, I take that back. It's the new you, legend over fact. What's the legend, by the way? John thinks we can spin this in my favor. There's this double standard. Men can have affairs, women can't. You and I can get in front of the press and say, it happens, I'm sorry, and you forgive me. We can sugarcoat it a little bit, make it part of our relationship, which we say remains strong. And is that so? I asked sarcastically. Is what so? Our relationship stays strong? Well, that's the thing. We stay married, but we don't, if you know what I mean. No. Don't try to explain it. You want John? Fine. You've both got my blessing. You want to get married? Fine. I'll try to forgive you, but I'll make sure you and John are in the past. Your choice. I heard muffled conversation. Do you wonder what goes on in people's heads? My wife and I are trying to figure out if we want to stay married, and she needs to discuss it with her lover. Divorce will ruin me. I'm giving up on John. Fire him. Tonight? I said in my best non-alternative voice. More muffled conversation. No. Then I'll apply in the morning. Another muffled conversation. Good. Is that it? No, that's a condition to get us started. We're going to work with a psychologist and see if we can save our marriage. You're the one who lives in a political fantasy world. If we want to be married, we'll mean it. If you can't do that, then live with the consequences. Her tone has changed. I've always loved you. You're right. Living a lie will never work. I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me? Doris, I'll be honest with you. As always, I have doubts. It's intoxicating, you know, hearing my name and the office of President of the United States together. Muffled conversation again. Sorry, I asked John to leave. His strategies pushed my name so far, I lost my head. I'm sorry. How long has it been? Since we fought. I decided that being president was more important than being married. Obviously, you can't have one without the other. This is a ringing endorsement. It's the best thing I can do right now. Give me a chance. I convinced myself that it was over between us, but that was wrong, and I knew it. John convinced me that I couldn't have the presidency and you. And he convinced me that I should actually let you go. Like I said, his strategies... It's a total failure, as I told you from the beginning. We had a little talk. We agreed that she would fire John publicly in the morning. Well, morning for everyone else, it was still just under 4 in the morning. She would say they had made a mistake and her marriage was too important to her. She also said that she and I will speak to the press within the next week. All the morning newscasts ended with Doris and John groping each other at her hotel room door. It was great political news. Within the next hour, it was announced that Senator Russell would make a public announcement at 9 a.m. Doris came out, professionally dressed, and said she would read a prepared statement and then take questions. I made a big mistake last night that I now regret. My campaign manager and I became too close, and we let it slip from our control. My political career is important. My marriage is more important. This morning, I fired my campaign manager. I also spoke with my husband, apologized deeply to him, and we agreed to do everything we can to restore our wonderful marriage. He and I will be appearing before you in the coming days. I'll take your questions. How long did the affair last? It wasn't an affair. It was a one-time mistake. Why fire John Schmidt? Even though the mistake was mine, John and I crossed a line. These things happen. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not alone. When you make a mistake, you have to prove you won't make a similar one. That meant John and I had to break up. So, you don't trust yourself? Yes, I trust myself. At this point, my husband has legitimate reasons to doubt me. One way to prove to him that it was a mistake is to fire John, Mr. Schmidt. He's an extraordinary talent. He'll rise to the occasion. The questions kept coming. She was good at dealing with them. They became less and less pointed. It was clear she was gaining an audience. It was Wednesday morning. I had work to do. We had work to do. We decided that our public announcement would be made on Monday morning. I was pushing for Friday, but that's a bad day for the news cycle. You looked good in this morning's interview. With a good follow-up interview, I think you'll be fine. I hope so. I've been working so hard, she replied. Find us a counselor in D.C. I'll be there as often as needed. Okay, I'll also work on our application. The application seemed more important to her than the consultant. Perhaps that was natural, since she was probably claiming the top prize in the world. Could I make my own? My question was more of a test than a sincere wish. I'd prefer it polished, if you don't mind. Will you do it yourself? With help. You know I'm surrounded by wordsmiths. When will you be in town? I've got a busy week. I don't think I can get in till Monday morning. Why don't you schedule a press conference for noon? That will give me time to prepare. My independent study went about as well as I expected. Monday came quickly. I flew to Washington, D.C. on our company's airplane and arrived at 7:00 a.m. Doris's staff was already there to meet me. We took a quick drive to her apartment. At the door, we kissed.
"Oh, I love you so much," she said.
I love you even more, I returned. Here's your script. Let me know what you think. I read it through. I had to admit it sounded real, not sincere enough, emotional enough, and with a real hope that we could live our lives as the loving couple we'd always been. My lines should have followed hers. Good afternoon. Today I brought my husband, with whom we have been together for 13 years, to report on our progress since last week. I am happy to say that we have a strong marriage that can overcome my indiscretions. We will be seeing a counselor twice a week for a while until we find everything we need to do to repair our relationship. She talked about it for a long time more. She explained her mistake and how remorseful she was. It was very impactful. After almost 10 minutes, she asked me to say a few words. Unfortunately, for our presentation today, I did a little homework on my own. I regularly use private investigators to make sure startups are what they claim to be. I set up a discreet surveillance of a senator and her lover. She could fire him, but he remained her lover. He snuck into her apartment after midnight on Friday morning. He never left, and I wondered where he was hiding while we worked on the presentation. I've always disliked political theater. When I said that, her eyes got big. It wasn't part of my script. My wife and I made several agreements to save our marriage. Unfortunately, she hasn't honored any of them, and today I'm here to announce that I've filed for divorce, and she's going to get it after this, what do you call it? Introductions. I'd be happy to answer any questions. There was a stunned silence. I have to hand it to her. She's unfazed. I can't believe this. It's a political dirty trick. My husband was never going to take me back and set me up for this outrage. I smiled and walked away. Several reporters asked me questions, which I answered honestly. Who knows how much honesty will stand up to political truth? You can decide for yourself how this may end. I believe that truth always wins and that Doris and John will reconsider running for dog catcher. Dog catcher, slang for politician, an employee of the authorities, and hope to build a new career on this unlikely victory. The end.